And in my clock, we haven't even hit 10:30 in the morning yet. So if you're still hanging with me, I know we're a couple minutes late getting started on this. We had some tech issues. I just encourage all of you, if you're doing Facebook Lives or Zoom, those of you who know me, you know I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I couldn't even tell you how many Facebook Lives I've logged at this point in time. And to let you know, it's a really weird world right now with technology as well. So don't get discouraged. Just keep trying and know that there's a solution. To me, one of the greatest solutions is always just a restart. Which is a perfect actually lead into this discussion today, a restart, a restructure on many levels. So Demi and Hillary, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so good to have both of you. So here's the interesting thing, and you all are going to want to lean in on this. So Demi, what is your last name?
McConkey.
Hillary, what's your last name?
McConkey as well.
Are you sisters?
We're not sister wives.
No.
We're not sister wives either.
That, and we're from
Even
Utah.
though we do live in Utah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and we're from Utah. This is beautiful.
No one's going to believe that you're not sister wives.
I know, right?
Right?
So here's the interesting thing, is they both share Peter. So Hillary and Peter have a child together, and Demi and Peter have a child together, and Demi and Peter are now married.
Right.
And I'm going to have them tell their story of just what's happened. You know, like, I believe there's always a silver lining. There's always a way in which that even in the worst circumstances that we can see God's blessing, that we can see the good in it. And these two ladies have decided, for the good of their family, to say, you know what, like, let bygones be bygones, whatever happens, come together to create even more greatness. So whichever one of you wants to start in and talk about, how did you get here?
And I think timing is everything.
I think it was.
You know, timing is everything. And what the situation that we're in is Hillary is our new nanny that has come about from COVID. And I talk about this as one of the biggest miracles of COVID. If it were outside of COVID, we would have never created this situation. We wouldn't be here where we are.
No.
And this has really heightened one of my awareness of where else is my ego preventing miracles from me receiving the miracles on my doorstep. Because it's just been an absolute miracle having Hillary be here.
Thank you. It's been great. And I come from a background of, I'm in childcare. So I'm a preschool teacher, and our school has closed down, and I was going to be at home, and Peter called me and was like, hey, Demi has come to me and said, why don't you be the nanny? And I was like, oh. It was like a hallelujah for me, where I'm able to be here with my son. Peter and I, one of the things going backwards, Peter and I are best friends. And throughout this whole divorce and remarriages on both of our sides, my main thing was to keep a friendship with Peter. And we maintained it. And we have people constantly tell us how weird it is, or a miracle almost, that Peter and I are still best friends. We still talk all the time. So when he called me and he's like, how do you feel about it? He's like, yeah. He's like, do you need to call and talk to your husband? I'm like, no, he's going to be fine with it. He really will. Because Peter and Greg are also friends. My husband, and, it's really worked out.
Yeah. I don't think though, when I first got married, and nothing against Hillary, it's just my ego would have said, I don't want my husband's ex-wife in the home. That's too weird. I would have, my ego when we first got married, that would have just gotten in the way. But I have through the years been able to just have opportunities for us to get to come together. And I had a meditation early on in the beginning of this year. And in this meditation, it was so powerful for me. I saw us as one whole family. I struggle. I have a daughter with another man, and I struggle creating this kind of harmony with that relationship. Actually, as a matter of fact, that is the most difficult relationship in my life. It is really challenging for me. But I even saw him in that meditation and saw that I could show up for him so much better, and that we all have a sacred contract to co-parent these children together. And so, you know, the first week of trying to work with kids in the home was so difficult that I decided to take 2 weeks off. And the second week I started having a bit more of a meltdown, realizing we have to get an in-home nanny. I don't know what we're going to do. And I was just laying on my bed in distraught, thinking, where am I going to find this person? When Peter came in and said, you know, Hillary just lost her job. I knew what she did. And I mean, everything lit up. Please, please ask her, can she? This would be amazing. But it was not only that I needed the help I needed the help, and she's like, you know, can handle 3-year-olds better than me, was also that because of that vision that I had in that meditation of us being one family, I got even more excited about the opportunity to actually get to like live into that vision even more. And I will really say, like, one of the so many miracles. I mean, Hillary's not only helping with a 3-year-old and being here, you know, her Porter is her son who's here. So she gets to, you know, in the quarantine, get to see him and not be separated from him. And she has him vacuuming and sweeping my house away. I can't even get that to happen. But it's even just our relationship has got to develop. I tell people that I talk to, I feel like she's one of my sisters now. And we will never go, this relationship and this dynamic of this time has helped us create more of living into that one family more than ever. And it's just been really wonderful.
It's been a blessing, truly. From the get-go, I remember when Demi and Peter first got married. I know you start a blended family. Your children really look to your parents to see how you're going to treat that other parent, that step parent. And from the very beginning, I came into this thinking, this needs to come from a place of love. I've already gone through maybe 40 years, 35 years of resentment and anger throughout different things in my life, resentment. And I knew that that's not how I wanted to start this relationship. And so I truly always came from a place of love, and I always had Demi's back, and I always had Peter's back. And I think it kind of threw both of my children. We actually have 2 kids. It actually threw, I think, my kids off a little bit, because when something happened, I would be like, you do not treat Demi like that. She's your mom. And he's like, stepmom. I'm like, no, but she still really is. When I'm not around, she's there. And you need to follow her. You need to, you know, she's going to be your guardian.
Mm-hmm. That was, I have to give you such kudos for that, because that was, I remember the way that felt. And there were some things that I did that I don't know if I would have been, been as generous and kind as you were. And I think but I think even knowing that is, hey, and her saying having my back, it gave me something to live up to too. And it helped the relationship for me and the kids to develop in a way that it's true. Your kids are going to look to the co-parent. How are they treating the step parent? And if the other parent is respecting them, they're going to naturally buy into that level of respect. And if they don't respect them, then it makes the whole dynamic of the family even more difficult. And it's just, in some sense, she realized it's just going to make her kids more miserable. And we didn't want that. And so, yeah, it's been really great.
Because it's a full circle. All of our circles blend. And whatever happens here happens at my house. And I'm truly, from here on out, just want to come from love. I tell the kids now when they're all bickering and Demi's on a call and Peter's on a call, I'm like, nothing is solved from violence. Nothing is solved from yelling. It all is solved from love.
Mm-hmm. It's
true. I mean, harmony. It's all a place of peace. And it's all comes from our examples of each other, mm-hmm. of relationships, and what you can obtain if you choose to pick love.
Yeah. It's true. I've never thought of this, but Barbara, the quantum meditation that we practiced earlier this year that we did together, I talk about that meditation where you go to the quantum realm. And what I've realized, the quantum realm is a realm of pure love. And I call this meditation, I call it Insta-Coach, because inside of pure love, only truth can exist. Lies are just, they evaporate. And so if you do come, the more love that you can come from, the more you are coming from truth too. And in the work that I do and coaching work that I do, I see that that all of our problems and struggles in life come from some lie that we're holding on to, that is creating a behavioral code that is causing us to experience life in a really difficult way. And it really is the truth will set you free. You know, that's the deep dive coaching work that I do with clients, is we dive into grab that truth that sets them free, so they're no longer beholden to that behavioral pattern attached to it. And that really is, I think that's a come from love, and you're going to be guided in truth, and life will be easier. Much more hard.
And for those of you who are watching, if you're thinking, oh, well, that sounds really great, but there's a crazy on the other end. We discussed that before we went live. So this well, and I love the reframe, Hillary, that you did of you decided what comes home is what happened there. So, and it really, I think, is as a mom saying, I'm going to put my stuff to the side for the health of my children, that I don't maybe even have to like that person right now, but for the best of my child, because I want my child to learn to respect the person that their parent has chosen as their spouse, because I want this for my child, because I want for my child, you know, my attitude was always with my ex and the myriad of women that came in and out was, and I just let the women know, like, here's the deal. As long as you're good to my kids, we'll be fine. Right. But if we're not, hell have no fury. Like, what's coming I expect to be good to them. And so whatever it was, and Demi, you and I have talked about it, like, you know, my kids and I stayed in touch with some of them even after they had split up, because they were just really great women that I wanted my children to have in their life. So let's talk about the other side. If it's not like this, what have two of you learned in building?
Create something like this if you're both choosing to come from love.
Right.
And if another person on the other side is not choosing to come from love, I haven't been able to create on the other side. Hillary hasn't been able to create. That's a common struggle that we have, because, and it's really sad, because it really does hurt the kids most of all, but it is our ego that is just flared up. It's like inflamed when we go through a divorce or a separation, and then another person comes in to take that spot. Even if we chose the divorce and we were on board, it's just the ego gets inflared. And when the ego gets inflared, it prevents the miracles from happening. And so if that other person is inflared and their ego is inflared and they're coming from, you know, anger and rage and resentment and bitterness, you know, all you can do is hope for the very best and maybe hold a vision of something wonderful. And that's what I'm doing with my daughter's father. In that meditation, I had a vision where I thought, wow, yeah, we do have a sacred contract. And just realizing that I can continue to come from that place. He still triggers me all the time in the way that he says things, and the way that he doesn't show up, and like that triggers me all the time. But if I keep coming back to that vision of coming from love, and then sometimes boundaries is just the very best thing that you can do in those situations. You know,
I've had to create boundaries with my husband's ex. It's been 5 years, and I finally just put some walls there. I know what my triggers are. I know what triggers me from her. And it's just come to a point where I'm like, these are my walls. These are my boundaries. I'll be there for my stepchildren. But as far as to certain things, until I feel safe, there's a point where you have to feel safe. And there are just times where I don't. And so I put up my own boundaries for that reason.
Yeah.
Even thinking about having my bonus daughter's mom in my home makes me feel uncomfortable. Huge kudos to you. My brain says I want to be there, and my gut says, hell no, I'm with you.
Get it.
We totally do.
And we've been there too. And that's why we really understand the miracle that this is. And then, you know, it would have been my ego that would have prevented her from And it's like, this is why I say COVID is such a blessing. It has been. I made that declaration when this first happened. I said that a year from now, I'll look back and say that COVID was the best thing that happened to myself, my business, my family, and the world. And this is one of those things that I'm, because outside of COVID, even if you had lost your job, it would be too weird. I would have had other options. I could have found somebody else. It would have been too weird. But inside of COVID and the constraints that we were in, it was just that this is what's available to you. We are in a need. Let's say yes to it. And that helped me trump my ego. And then in that surrender, I mean, the miracle that this has been has caused me to ask myself, where else is my ego getting in the way of my business? And I've seen tons of stuff that has just been really powerful insights that has helped me create even more freedom in my business. And so we get the miracle that this is. And I think that's just something to hold to and hold a vision of, and hold. If the first is, if you have a hot or tumultuous relationship with an ex's, this type of a dynamic, if it's tumultuous, the first thing that you have to do is you can get your part ready. That's all you can do. If they're not going to get their part ready, you can't force that. You can't control that. You can only get your part ready to come from love. And one of the best things to do is to have the intention of it, hold a possible vision of it, do some work, do some therapy, get some coaching to get the ego out of the way so that you can see the love. And, this has helped me love the kids more that are my stepkids too.
Right.
Because, my ego really, like, some of the constraints was, like Porter and I were like, we butted heads at first. It was, he wasn't thrilled about the marriage happening very as quick as it did. So I got offended, and the things that he would say would trigger my inner 9-year-old, and I'd want to take my toys away from the sandbox and and so I had to do a lot of work on me too. And I got coaching, and I, talked to people to help me. But the thing that pulled me through the most was having an intention. I created an intention. I want blended family bliss. And I was committed to doing whatever it took to get there, and also committed to letting time. And I was tolerating that it might take time. I wasn't thrilled that it might take time. I wanted it today, but that was my biggest thing, of surrendering to, like, hey, this takes time. And I didn't think it would be possible to love another woman's kids as your own. And I'm going to get choked up saying that I do. Like, I didn't think it was possible, and I'm experiencing the impossible. I wouldn't have thought this is impossible, and I'm experiencing the impossible. I believe in miracles.
Well, and here I am watching my ex-husband and his new wife's child. And I found that on my weekends, I'm just like talking about him constantly. And I think about him, and
there's a lot to talk about with that little fella.
Right. And I have all these pictures on my phone, and I'm showing my husband, and I, they welcome me into their home. Yeah. But I'm in their intimate moments throughout the day. And it really is like, you can't stop a 3.5-year-old from going into their parents' room, going into their bathroom. Well, I'm going potty in here. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And those are those moments, but I truly feel it's a miracle. And I never thought I could. I mean, I've always thought that Jameson's great. He's cute. He's Porter's little brother. I've always talked him up. He's your brother. He's your family. And for a long time, I kept saying to Porter, you think your dad has bad taste. He picked me. He's picking Demi. Your dad didn't have bad taste by picking me. You think your dad has bad taste now. He's picking this amazing woman. Like, you've got to think about also your dad's standards and where your dad is coming from. And so, but now being here in the family and being with Jameson, I couldn't believe that how much feelings and tenderness I'm feeling for also, Demi's daughter from another gentleman, and here I am caring for her and thinking about her. It's a true blessing through and through.
Yeah. It's helped me realize that we really are one family, and not just these walls. It's like, this, we're a global family, and our egos find ways to separate that family with belief systems, the color of our skin, the marriage status, or, you know, the heartbreak that we felt, or this reason or that. We find ways to guard and protect ourselves from the abundance of love that we could be feeling and experiencing on a regular basis. And I get it. We're human. You know, in the work that I do, I talk about that most people spend too much time trying to figure out who they are, not enough time trying to figure out what human is. It's important to understand the monkey suit that we're in and how it operates so it doesn't run us, so that the more that we can understand it. And we're not going to, you know, as long as we're in this monkey suit, there's things that we're going to want to be liked and be admired and look good and feel protected and feel safe. That's just how this monkey suit runs. And so you have to know that, and knowing that, then you can be responsible for it. And so that's why I've developed, and I do practices in the work that I do to be able to constantly look and see, hey, how's my monkey suit getting in the way here? And this has heightened my awareness to look even more intentionally in all the areas of my life.
And for those of you who are watching, this is exactly why I've asked Demi to join me at the Women's Mind, Body, Spirit Boot Camp in October. On that Saturday, we'll be doing some deep dives into the monkey suit and your soul purpose. And I have learned so much through Demi. And, you know, one of the things, Demi, when you shared with me that Hillary was coming into your life, you know, as women, I think it's so easy to say, well, this is what motherhood looks like. And if you are a good mother, it's all of these things. And I know myself, and I see some of the boot campers who are on our thread here, that our careers are really important to us. They're not more important than our children, but they're also really important to us. And I love the fact that you got out of your ego's way to say, no, by saying, like, Hillary, the fact that you can come in and help our family is fulfilling Hillary's purpose. It gets to make her heart feel better. So if Demi instead said, no, I have to do everything, like, that's what a good mom does. A good mom does everything. I have to be just so blissful that I'm doing, you know, like the potty training. She would deny Hillary from living her purpose. She would deny Benny getting, Jameson being able to be potty trained in love and said, because I know, like, potty training is not like a love thing for me either. I mean, thankfully, Micah taught herself by the time she was 2, and it was a little bit more of a process. Rochelle said, how did the conversation go regarding compensation? I feel and am scrolling through all these hard conversations.
I would, yeah. So interestingly enough, and the way I feel when I hire somebody I love is I love getting to pay them. It doesn't feel like I'm paying for it. I love that. So I love loving the people that work for me, because then when I pay them, it doesn't feel like, I hate having to spend money on unsexy things like rain gutters and plumbing and things that you don't get to see, right? But when you when your money gets to go somewhere, to a place that really feels like you're getting to make an impact where you want to, it just is a delight. And that is how it felt for me. So, I mean, the conversation went, how much were you making at your other job? We'll pay you exactly the same. And it was just like, no question. And that's how I feel about getting to pay her. I also feel, you know, she had just lost her job. And so it was just sure, my ego loves this. I get to go in and be the save the day, right? I get to do that, but she gets to come and save the day for me. Yeah, my 3-year-old was not potty trained, still drinking a juice baba, couldn't sit in a timeout chair for 2 seconds, and I'm still sleeping in bed with mom and dad, right? Within a week of Hillary being there, all of those things were taken care of. And if I needed to be the one, it's my son, I don't want my husband's ex-wife doing, like, it's got to be me, I would have gotten in the way of what miracles Hillary could have brought into my life. And so I really, and you know me, Barbara, I'm the same like you. When a sister is a sister to me, how can I make you thrive? So I'm actually planting seeds all the time. Hillary, we need to help you start a business. We need to,
You're so how can we start this? Let's do this.
Hillary.
Exactly.
Behind the scenes strategy here a little bit. Oh, Jesse said, I love Demi. So Jesse's who came with me to the first fest, and has had a little girl.
Oh, and had baby.
Yeah, so her little girl was born this past fall.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so Clay and Casey are her little ones. So let's talk about what made it evident, Demi, that structures were missing. And then Hillary, what structures have you put in place? Like when we hear about what wasn't, like what made it evident, then how do we go about putting those structures in place? Because I truly believe home and work have to have structure in order for all of us to thrive, in order for all of us to really and truly be at our best. I'm a big fan of boundaries, and I know that there are some who think, oh, well, kids shouldn't have boundaries. This should just be a free for all. And yet I go back to, as an adult in relationships, if I don't know what my boundaries are, if I don't know, like, what is the context of this relationship as an adult, it makes me crazy. And I think, how much harder is it for a child who's trying to figure out life? Like, what's okay, what's not okay, da, 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 da. So Demi, let's go back to you laying in bed. You're trying to figure this out. It's chaos. Peter's home, you're home, and it's COVID.
Well, and let me say this too. Let me go back a little bit further. I knew when COVID was hitting, and we were suspecting the quarantine, and the kids were, all of that. I started to get a little bit excited because I'm a coach, and when my clients come to me with breakdowns, it is like, we're going to have a breakthrough that's going to change their life forever. So I get excited about breakdowns, and I was like, a global breakdown. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so great. We're going to, and so I was like, because slow us down. And if we slow down, we can go in, and if we go in and connect to that love within that we all have access to all the time, then we'll see the truth that will set us free. That's how breakdowns can really serve us. And so I knew that with the kids coming home and doing this, I also got, oh goody, we're going to have lots of breakdowns in my home. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I took 2 weeks off, because I knew that there were systems and structures that we were tolerating not having in place in the old norm, because we could send the kids to daycare and to school, tolerate the things that weren't in place in the evening, and send them off again the next day. We were able to tolerate it. But it was not making for a lot of peace and structure in the home. And so that's like the first thing, was that I took the time for it. I knew that there were places in which we had been, we had weak integrity, and by integrity, I mean workability. So I was actually excited for the places where the integrity was weak to begin to be exposed. And I knew that I couldn't handle them on my own.
And then Demi, when she invited me in, there was a key phrase that kind of sticks out. She's like, you pretty much have free realm. Do anything that you feel comfortable doing. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, your system, you'll automatically not do it. Mm-hmm. Like, in a sense. And I've noticed there's a few things that I just don't do, but mainly she kind of just gave me free realm. Just like, here's the kids. But when you're invited into a home, you're teaching morals, you're teaching values, you're teaching how to love, how to hate. We all, right? There's certain things that you're constantly doing. And she really just basically trusted me enough to just let me do it.
And what a huge compliment to you, Hillary, that Demi is basically saying, I watch your children, which are evidence of, I think, really who we are. I think they're amazing. And I'd like you to bring that. Like, I got to spend some time with Porter, and I told Demi afterwards, like, I want to steal him and bring him to Alaska. So if he ever comes up missing,
for sure.
That. It was so funny. The other day we were doing something, I'm like, oh my gosh, Porter would love this. Like, so I'm thinking about him all the time too.
We'll have to talk about making that happen, Barbara. I'd love to give him a really cool experience. Like, and he's been so amazing in this whole coronavirus. Like, he's just been so amazing. It would be cool to give him something special.
Yeah. So kudos to both of you. Erica said, y'all are co-parenting goals. Well done. Rashay said, totally my money. And mine too. So let's talk about what are the structures that made such a difference. And I want to make sure before we're done with this, when there has been a difference, how have you guys mitigated that? So let's first talk about what structures have been put in place that we can all look at, like, oh my gosh, like I could adopt that structure and have more harmony at home. I'm in. That maybe it just can really come to our consciousness.
Well, I really leaned on Hillary to create the structure because that's my weak suit. That's why the chaos in my home was what it was, because I don't know if any of you guys know Enneagrams, like the Enneagram personality test. I'm a mitigating peacemaker. I'm a 9. And so I have a tendency that's not really that great for parenting because it's like, don't have a tendency to bring strong structure to the kids. And and I think my kids are hard too. She even said that in all of her years of being in childcare, like only 1 or 2 Jamesons come across, right? They are very determined.
It's a great quality to have, but when they're 3 and they have that characteristic, you can't break down that barrier. They are who they are. You can't change that, even if they're 3.5 or 4 or 18. That's who they are. And so I came in and I thought, consistency. It's the routine and the consistency. And I find that I never change my voice level. I mean, there have been a few times where I might be like, Jameson, I just give him the look. Today I did this. I'm watching you, buddy. Like
he's been swearing. He's been calling people mother effers. And he did it once and he just looked at Hillary and he went and sat in the timeout chair.
He knew. I just pointed and he turned around and he just went and sat down. And I think he just knows that consistency. And it's, so what's happening is you follow, like Porter does it to Benny does it to Jameson. It's this, thing of trailing where I'm trying to also now teach the other kids, well, you have discretion. You're old enough and you can say certain things where you choose to, but now we've taught that a 3.5-year-old is doing some things where it's not okay. And this is where all the blended family comes in together, where he's picked up on things and Porter's almost 15, Benny's almost 10. You have a lot of age differences too. So Porter might say something that he shouldn't, but he's getting to that age where he's a teenager. And then Jameson hears it. And then you have this little 3.5-year-old.
Right. The other day he said, I hate people. They're all shits and mother effers. Yeah. Yep, that's what she has to work with. So
he can't laugh because it's kind of funny, but really it's it's kind of funny. He's like a cool guy.
But it's just that consistency. So, yesterday we did an adventure and we got in the car and we went places and he said something to me and he's like, I really want to swear. And so we've talked some things. So we punch things, so we squeeze pillows. So there's other, like I've started helping him realize, like he'll look at me and be like, I really want to squeeze the dog. I'm like, okay, let's hurry. Let's find a towel. And we squeeze. So we know that sometimes he gets angry. We know he wants to say things. And I'm really pumping him up. Like yesterday, there were 2 times he wanted to say stupid. And I saw him catch himself. And I'm always praising, good job, buddy. It's those little rewards. And even throughout where I'm seeing the little changes, consistency.
And I think that, the consistency, that's the thing where I didn't even have the time for to be that consistent in trying to work and juggle everything. It's
hard.
It's really hard. And I think that I haven't even thought about that until just this conversation, what an extra blessing it has been. And we're trying to figure out how can we keep Hillary here after, her place opens back up because, and this has helped me realize that this is where I want to put my money is in getting the help in the home, because before we were choosing childcare because it was, a quarter of the cost of an in-house nanny. And so just, that makes sense logically, but getting to see the value in what Hillary has been able to bring into the home is just, our lifestyle is completely different. You can't put a price tag on peace and harmony, and helping kids have the consistency they need to be able to really blossom. And that's really what's so important to me. So, coming out of this, we're not, we'll probably send him to daycare for his friends, maybe 2 days a week, but I'm committed to putting my money here.
Nice. I love that. I mean, it's like I talk about in business, the the best thing to invest in your business is yourself. Like there's no greater asset ever in your business than yourself. And that investment may come with getting help at home, and creating that peace and harmony. And you know, I think it's kind of like cooking.
Right.
I really find zero pleasure in that, to be honest with you. My husband loves doing it. I
love it. Yeah, I'm with you. I love it.
Zero pleasure. And I used to kind of beat myself up because I've always cooked because I've had kids, right? And it was important to me to have you know, family meals and stuff. So I did it out of necessity. And one of the biggest things I hate is making lunches. I hate packing lunches.
I love that. That's not cooking. That's like family feeding. That's different.
That's different. Yeah.
So, you know, instead of like beating myself up about it, like you're a bad woman because you don't like these things that all other women do, it's instead kind of like with Hillary, like, okay, well, somebody else really likes this. And I can instead like not be egotistical about it, right? Not let ego run the show and just get it taken care of somewhere else. Like we're still creating energy in the overall system, I believe.
Yeah.
And I love that. So let me ask you this. What structures, Hillary, can a mom who's watching this now go to first if like Demi, like we're so tired when we finally get home that being consistent is just like, it feels like it's more energy that we don't have, or even, you know, it's easier just to do things on my own.
Right. Exactly.
So where's the first person a mom can look to bring peace and harmony in her home and that consistency, like to get the most bang for her buck?
I truly find that I really do have to plan out my week. I mean, and I know that sounds hard for a busy mom, and now you're home, you got the COVID, you're working from home. If you can take 4 hours, I make sure all my laundry's done. And these are things for stay-at-home moms where I'm very consistent about.
There's Jameson, yeah. He bends down and talks through the door crack.
But I was a tired mom. I remember when Peter and I were married and he was going to school full-time at night and I was working full-time during the day, and I came home to 2 young kids and I was exhausted. If I could have been the parent to them now that I wasn't back then, it would have been a different story. I think I might have different kids now, you know? But truly, it's the consistency that I've learned now in daycare and seeing where parents will come in and be like, how could my kids act like that? It's because we are so routined. They know exactly what they expect from me, and there's no lines about it. Jameson knows several times today, he pulls on the dog. I just look at him, he sits down because he knows there's no other way. I think with parents, we get worn down. They keep nagging and they pick at you, and it's finally, here, take the tablet. Here, have the other cookie. But for me, I come in, I get to go home at the end of the day. I get a break. But it's if once they know you can't break down, the kids, they know their expectations. And that's the biggest key, is they know what is expected from them. And I think a lot of times kids don't know. We talk about them, we talk around them, but we don't talk directly to them. And I talk to Jameson like he's my age. I sit down, I'm like, no, this is what's going to happen. You say it again, this is what will happen. And so he knows.
Kids are like Vegas, man. If they win once, they are going to keep gambling, keep going for it. And that is, and you know, I love, you know, what Hillary pointed to of planning it out, that when I get tired, and before, the way we were doing it before, I was always tired. I mean, I can absolutely handle cooking a dinner if I don't have to decide what to make. Right. Just not knowing what to make for dinner is this thing that is just too exhausting for me. And that also happens with the kids. I didn't know, like with Jameson, I couldn't, you know, it takes a certain amount of dealing with the tantrums to get those rhythms set up to like time out. We're working on having him sleep in his bed all night. And it's like we did it one night and it was 2 hours of just going and putting him back, doing it and putting him back. And so it takes some upfront time and energy. And I will tell moms listening to this, if you think you can't afford to hire help, if you're a working mom and you think you can't afford to hire help, just try. And I mean, I wish I would have, you know, this forced me to have to do it. I wish I would have done it sooner because somebody could have helped me create those rhythms. If you're a working mom and you're tired, get somebody who isn't exhausted to come in and help you create those rhythms and create those structures. Maybe Hillary's going to start an online mommy coaching thing. If I can talk her into it enough, she'll have some tips for you guys to, you know, how to do this. But I was actually looking for somebody to do this, to come in. I recognized that there was structure missing, but I didn't have the energy to do it after work and to deal with it. And so what I would do, I just let the 3-year-old get away with more things. That's why he was still drinking a juice baba, because we just didn't want to have to tolerate dealing with all of the breakdowns that were going to happen to get him off of it. And so, and that's what I would number one say is, like, if you think you can't afford it, look again, see if you can put some money, just even one day a week or a little bit. And if you absolutely cannot afford it, then try to carve some time out, like Hillary is saying, to where you're creating the structure when you're not exhausted. Just so on Sunday nights, or it's actually probably Sunday mornings, I spend maybe 2 hours and I go through my list. I don't have young kids at home, but I still make my entire food list. I may not be specific, but I know Tuesday nights is hamburger, Wednesday nights is fish, Thursday night is this. And even if it's not how it's planned out, I at least have 7 meals that I know that when I go to the grocery store are already in the fridge. I'm the person, I already have my clothes picked out for the next day. So when I woke up today, I already had these out, but I don't have to think about it in the morning. And I used to do it with my kids, with Sydney and Porter. It made my mornings when I had to go to work that much better. So I wake up in the morning, if I'm running late, my lunches are already packed. So when I'm making dinner, I'm already packing my kids' lunches at the same time. You're already in the kitchen. Spend those extra 10 minutes, get it done. And that's why Peter the other day would mention, why are you bringing your lunches? I'm like, well, I'm already packing my husband's lunch. I'm packing mine. It just time saving. I just kind of have to see it like that. And I want to speak to that. Like, if you are not naturally inclined to do things and be organized like that, because I'm not, I am a free spirit. Fly by. I mean, I'll create structure, and then I need to be free of it. And so that if you're like me and you have a hard time creating and maintaining structure, then one of my little tricks and tips that I do is I create guardrails for myself. A guardrail is something that you put in place to compensate for your tendency to not be organized or your tendency to do something in another way. And so, you know, a guardrail could be something, I mean, hiring somebody is a guardrail. I know my tendency is to not do that. Let me hire somebody that can do that for me. Like a guardrail that I have sort of for my business is keeping it simple. I have my team is, every time I bring them an idea, they have to ask me if it's simple and if it could be simpler. It's a guardrail to keep my ego out of the planning of my business. And so there's, you know, I'm looking right now on creating a guardrail for my yoga practice, because you know, it's my kids and work, and I haven't been getting enough of especially not being able to get to a studio. And so I'm actually thinking out, what's the guardrail I want to do? I may even hire my personal assistant. Like, when she works with me, it's like, I'm going to have her be over here working with me in the times that are blocked out for the yoga class, and it's her job to make sure that I get out the door. Little things like that, you know.
It's essential.
You could, so there's different things that you could put in place. If you struggle with doing meal planning, and this is a guardrail, something I could put in place. One thing that I did for a while, I created a mom's group where because doing a blended family, when I came in a blended family, the kids didn't like to eat the kinds of food I like to cook and eat. And so I didn't know how to cook, and I wasn't going to do McDonald's. I wasn't going to do some of the things they wanted. So I had to come up with other ideas. And so we just got together once a month and at somebody's house, and they cooked a kid-friendly meal that we could like to. It was sort of trying to just broaden our creativity around what that could be. And so I'm a big fan of really understanding what your tendency is, and don't try to do this with your tendency. Do this with your tendency. Find a guardrail that can let you show up as you are and get the results that you want.
Yeah, I think dance with your tendencies instead of fight them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, right, how can we get in step? You know, one thing I want to encourage all of you who are watching, regardless of what age your kids are, is know that they're capable of more than you're probably giving them credit for. And capability, I mean, with discipline, with sitting in timeout, or with helping you around the house. And instead of seeing it like, oh, I don't want to be that bad mom that makes my kids do things. Instead, I would encourage you to adopt the mindset of, I'm a really great mom because I'm teaching my kids how to do these skills that are going to be necessary for them throughout a lifetime. Like, it was really important to me to raise children who others were excited to be in relationship with. Like, I want to raise my daughter to be a great woman to be in relationship with. I want to raise my son to be a great man to be in relationship with, instead of to be a burden. Because if they were a burden, guess what? That's only going to create turmoil in their life, and it's going to make them feel poorly about themselves. And with privilege comes responsibility. And that's been part of, I think, the breakdown in our culture is like, everybody gets all these privileges, but there aren't responsibilities to balance it out. And it's so necessary. So please, all of you, like, we started this conversation with Demi saying, you know, one of the things that she and I, which we have a lot of things in common, but one of them is being able to help others see their own brilliance. And I just ask that all of you see that your children are really truly dying for you to create structure for them, because we all operate best in structure and knowing what's to come and giving them expectations. Like, I remember, you know, if the kids and I were out doing something and, like, let's just say the car was filled with stuff because of it, I'd be like, all right, listen, when we get home, as soon as we get home, first empty the trash and then take everything out of the car, and it needs to be put away. I don't want you to just take it into the house. It has a place. So find its place for it. And then once all of these things are done, so their brain is already thinking about what it's going to do when this next thing.
Exactly. They know what's expected of them.
Yeah. Let me share this, Barbara, because I think this will be something that will help moms. It helps me. It's been a reframe for me recently that's really powerful, a context that really helps me let my kids struggle right now so they don't have to struggle as much in their life. The work that I do with my clients is, you know, what I propose is that every challenge and every struggle in our life is primarily created by us, from us not being able to tolerate feeling something.
Right.
That drives our behavior in a place that we end up getting stuck. And so most of what I do with my clients is I help them. One of the things we do sometimes is we'll flex the muscle of, I don't want to feel like a failure. So I drive myself to this workaholic pattern, right? And so one of the things I do is to help them flex the muscle of being okay feeling a failure. Because in truth, we fail our way to success, right? And so anything that you can't tolerate feeling is a huge constraint in your life. It's constraining your freedom. It's constraining your ability to enjoy your life. And so kids, what if we could help them experience this sooner? They don't want to do Saturday chores. They have to be with the feeling of doing something that they don't love doing. So let them, you know, that's something that I've taken on recently for myself, my clients, and my kids, is let them flex the muscle of what they can't tolerate feeling. It will serve them hugely in life, because if they can tolerate feeling a broken heart, if they can tolerate feeling like they messed up, if they can tolerate feeling doing something that they don't want to be doing. And, you know, I mean, trust fund kids are the most messed up kids because they don't have to tolerate feeling their humanity. Right. They just get to, like, shop it away or numb it away. And so the more that we can actually, in these times, I always say, you know, our sole purpose, our authentic greatness reveals itself more to us in challenging times. And in challenging times, if we can meet that inside of our humanity and start flexing the muscle to feel all of the feelings of our humanity, it will open up a world of freedom for us. And our kids can learn it sooner.
Right.
I love that. That's awesome. Tolerate your feelings.
Yeah.
Right? The feelings of all. And maybe that goes along with, and I want to double back around for boot campers who are watching. You've heard me say for years, like, solve your challenges publicly. So that's what Demi is talking about in having a mom's group create dinners. Like, early on, like when I first opened my practice, I'd had a baby, I'd gained 100 pounds. I needed to get back in shape. And so in my mind, I was like, I'm pretty sure there are probably a few other women in my town that want to lose weight. So I'll solve my challenges publicly because I know I step up bigger when I'm leading. So instead of beating myself up that's a motivator, I'm like, I'm just going to lean into it.
Your message medicine. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So I encourage all of you in these areas, if you're struggling, like, number one, don't feel bad. You're not the only one. And number two, there's a silver lining in it, and really just sit with that. Oh my gosh, what if I do mess up? What if you do? Then what?
Yeah. If we can tolerate the feelings that come along with messing up, we'll take more risks. We'll create more of what we want. I really, really do believe that's the biggest way that we prevent the miracles from happening in our life is we're modifying our behavior so that we don't have to feel a feeling that we don't want to feel again. We're pushing away from it. You know, that would have prevented me from letting Hillary in. I don't want to feel jealousy or feel this or feel that. So I'm going to avoid experiencing that. And so the more that we can, you know, and the practice I give my clients is to feel it, period. We need to experience our feelings with periods, less commas. I recently was feeling the heartbreak of not being able to coach. I led a call, and out of that call, I wanted to do a free coaching call Monday through Friday for everybody struggling more than me during these times. And when I took that to my team, the guardrails that I put in place prevented me from being able to do that. And so it forced me to have to sit in the heartbreak of, you know, heartbreak period. I really wanted to go, comma, maybe just Fridays, comma, yeah, but people are struggling more than me right now, comma. And the commas keep me in this rabbit hole of struck. So I did this practice, and I've literally been doing this where it's like, feel it, period, feel it, period. It took me less than 24 hours, but almost 24 hours through. If you'll just feel it, it moves in an authentic clarity, and desire can be born on what to do. What I realized in less than 24 hours is what that was really about was me wanting to serve one woman in my community and her people. But the truth is I felt that I had led this call arrogantly that she was on. And in order to appropriately, you know, punish myself, I was going to do this. This was all happening subconsciously. I wasn't aware of it, but forcing myself to sit with the heartbreak helped that it clear the ego drivers, because they were I was doing 5 hours of call a week was trying to push me away from having to be with how ashamed I was that I led this call arrogantly. And where it just forcing me to sit with it, it burned through it so that truth could be revealed. And so I would love to give your community that practice of feel it, period. and literally I do this to physically because my mind is like, comma. Yeah.
Physically feeling it and seeing it, right? Seeing it.
Lean in and feel all of it. Just like the chaos right now, like just lean into it. Yes. Lean into it. It is weird.
And leadership, the invitation into leadership is heartbreak. And if and leadership, I'm talking about not as a position of authority, but a quality of being of one who chooses to stand for the greatness in humanity and the better world that we can create. And I believe that the world right now is asking everybody to step into leadership, everybody to be that stand. And it begins with heartbreak. And if we'll feel the heartbreak, period, then we'll have the clarity on how to step forward into our purpose in a small, simple way. Because our soul will reveal a small, simple way. Our ego wants grandiose, and that usually prevents us from stepping into it.
It's true.
You know, on my live group coaching call that I had just before this, I was talking about either being on the sidelines and watching all this happen, or actually being involved in the game and making the plays and being part of the solution. And something you bring up, Demi, that I'll have to go back and kind of add to it is feel the heartbreak of standing in your truth, which may mean some people don't like you.
Totally.
Decide me like myself because I'm standing in truth. More important than else not like you. We have a difference of opinion.
And the more that we can, that's a muscle to flex, the heartbreak. And heartbreak has lots of flavors. Sometimes it's anger, frustration, disappointment, grief, has lots of flavors. But the more that we can flex that muscle to feel the heartbreak of the world, the more that we will be able to step more into our purpose. I always say at first we use our purpose and then our purpose uses us. And that's how it works. The more that we can flex that muscle and feel it and let the authentic clarity of truth and love be revealed as a result, it will step further and further into our purpose, where then our purpose uses us and the world becomes so magical.
I love that. So what's one step, Hillary, that moms or dads who are watching this can take right now in the consistency world of, and I think it's so important not to feel like you're gonna, like, don't turn everything upside down. It's like in business, A/B test. Only change one thing. So, you know, maybe it's consistency with going, you know, like bedtime. I think bedtime is so important for couples more than kids, right? Like
anything, right?
We need time together. Like we need that space and that time together. And to all of you, remember, there's going to be heartbreak with it.
Right.
There is heartbreak with it. Like somebody's not going to be happy about it, but ultimately it's for the good. So what's a step to bring about the most harmony and peace when right now life is kind of like cuckoo?
I truly feel like if you were to do anything, is let your kids know what's going on. Give them the heads up. I feel like most kids don't know what's going on or when you're going out or what's happening tomorrow. I'm constantly telling, when I come here, I constantly am telling Jameson what we're doing tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we're doing this. On Thursday, we're doing that. I'm letting him be involved in the plans. As much as consistency can come in different ways, but I think if you're consistently talking to your children and honestly letting them be involved in the planning, there's some infrastructures you just don't change. And bedtime will come at a time, feeding schedules, all these other things can wait. Or, you know, they will come at a time. But I think if you truly communicate to your kids will listen. They hear you. They know where you're coming from. And I think it doesn't matter what age your kids are. They know, they hear you. I'm constantly talking to Jameson. He knows what to expect from me. There's no doubt. I come in and he knows what my rules are. But it's the consistency of it. It's me communicating to him about those things. And he knows exactly what's going to happen and what I'm doing every day of the week because I'm continually talking to him about it.
And one of the things that you've brought into our house that's really helped with consistency is consistency on discipline within, like, hey, if you cross over this line, it's always going to be this. And they have a little bit of leeway up to that, but it is, hey, it's if you're gonna say bad words, then you're gonna be in the timeout chair, right? And I feel like that is this thing that we've been that she's brought a lot of consistency into the house and has really helped. The other thing that we've been doing consistently is going out for walks in the evening. And the kids tell me, I know this is working for them because they tell me it's time for the walk.
Just one thing a day that they can count on. Where the end of the day, everybody's home, but then that's the end of the day's happened. They know it's the end of the day, you have dinner, and you go for a walk.
And it's something they enjoy doing. Yes, period. They enjoy doing so they can look forward to that end of night rituals. Jameson doesn't like going to bed, and he asks me throughout the afternoon, is it going to get dark? Is it going to get dark soon? Because he doesn't want to go to bed. And so, but if he has something to look forward to in the doing dark, going for the walks, and he's riding his bike now. And so that's like this new thing. We love going out and watching him ride his bike. And so that one little pleasant thing for them to look forward to in the evening has also been really wonderful.
So Demi, let me ask you this so Hillary has structures, and there's a difference when she came in, and like Jameson knows and Porter knows and Benny knows, like Hillary's in charge. Now this stuff is happening. How have you and Peter, because there wasn't consistency before, and now she comes in in order to really bring about that peace and harmony, you and Peter have to do what she's done. How have you and Peter worked those in so that there isn't a difference in kind of like what Hillary was talking about? Like, we got to have consistency with both homes. So now there's consistency with when Hillary's in charge and when you and Peter are running your home. How do you do
Peter and I still really struggle with the consistency, Barbara. Like that is which is why I will probably always have help in the home until we get these structures really dialed in where the kids are, the thing that we struggle with the most is getting our son to sleep in his bed. Like we just struggle with that. And so we really are doing the best that we can. And to be honest, like Jameson, I've just started to pick up on, he's thrown a couple tantrums at night that I'm actually picking up on. I might want to go check into an occupational therapist, because he can't seem to have things not go the way he needs to have them in his mind. And he has body shaking, he's foaming at the mouth, mad. And so I'm starting to pick up on maybe there might be something more that he needs, and what that is. The biggest struggle comes, Barbara, when I don't know if what I'm doing is right for them or not.
Yeah. And
we're so worried, right? Mm-hmm. Moving kids out of your bed. Oh my God, you think I don't love them anymore? What if they do this? What if they think da 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 da? Like, then that puts us right back
their little brains. And how do they?
Well, and when Jameson is having those uber super tantrums where he's foaming at the mouth. He had one the other night because he doesn't want to get wet, and we were out watering at the garden, and he got wet, and he threw this tantrum, just screaming, his body shaking, "You got me wet, you got me wet." And so then I'm bringing him inside, and like literally, I don't know if I should calm him down and have him be okay with the wet, or let's change the clothes, let's change them. And that's the hardest thing for me, is not knowing if what I'm doing, if we put a structure in place and I logically can understand that this is the best thing for them and it will help him, there's nothing I can't have them suffer through. If I know that the suffering and the struggling is going to be for their benefit, there's just the mommy fear of, am I creating? I also work with coaching clients that I know that all of their patterns were written when they were kids. And so I know you can't avoid, as a parent, not creating behavioral patterns. And, I was coaching somebody today that had a belief that their dad didn't love them because they worked so much. And I'm thinking, oh, are my kids going to do that? I worry I work too much. And so you can't help, our kids are going to make meaning out of things. You can't prevent that. But I'm also, in my human condition, am worried that I'm causing that, which makes me question, is what I'm doing best for them? And when I question it, that makes me be inconsistent.
Have you tried in those moments of, I don't know, like casting vision of, if I have Jameson do this thing, and like that, do you know Susie Welch's 10-10-10? At 10 minutes. So you ask yourself, if I do this in 10 minutes, what's going to be the result? In 10 months, what will be the result? And in 10 years, what will be the result? If I don't make him whatever, if the tantrum is allowed, so let's go back to the wet clothes. Change our clothes in 10 minutes, what's going to be the result? Okay, now I'm dry. And it shows him, if something happens, you have the ability to change the outcome, right? In 10 months, what will that bring about? And in 10 years? And if I don't do anything, and he just is allowed to, just express however, in 10 minutes, what's going to be the result? In 10 months, what's going to be the result? In 10 years? That immediate 10-10-10, moving it out. And I think it's always so important to just go back to, I can say this to my kids all the time. I promise you, I love you more than anyone else on the planet. I love you more than anyone else on the planet. And I'm
my favorite human.
Yeah, what's good. And I may mess up at times. And I think as moms, it's important that we trust ourselves. Innately, I want this to happen.
Right.
Then we start talking ourselves out of what innate drives us to do, because we get in our monkey head of, oh my gosh, what if, versus trusting innate.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it's, I don't have, there's no perfect answer to that. I think we can understand that we're human, try to understand how that shows up the best we can so we can be responsible for it. And I think what you're talking about, having a vision of here's what I want, communicating to the kids. I had a friend once that used to, does she know she's loved with my daughter? I worried about sending her to daycare because I was raised in a family where that was like, you should be a stay-at-home mom. And so I had that, even though I logically didn't believe that anymore, the programming was still there. And I just think mommy guilt is so real, isn't it?
It's real.
And so I love that face, Barbara. That is it. That is the mommy guilt. And so, but I had a friend that said, do they know they're loved? Do they know they're loved? And if all else fails, I go back to that. Do they know they're loved? And I really do. Like when you come from love, it's circling back to that too. I really believe like all of the stuff, if we continue coming from love and let our kids know that they're loved, a lot of the stuff will get worked out. And all of the tactics and the strategy and the structure that we're talking about here is just about making your day-to-day a little bit easier.
Right. And I just want to encourage everyone who's raising young kids. I mean, I'm stepping into going to be a grandma this summer. My kids are 24, 22, and 21. And the things that, like the guilt, going back to the guilt, like there's so many times I'll call my kids. I'm like, I just want to ask your forgiveness. Like I remembered this situation and they're both just like, Mom, you were the best mom. And I'm thinking, no, I definitely wasn't. Do you not remember the yelling sessions?
Right.
And they don't remember those things, kind of like what Demi was saying, because ultimately they know they're loved.
Right.
Yep.
I remember recently I said something to Porter about, there was something I constantly thought about. It was a negative thing and I kept bringing it up in a memory and I told him about it. And he was like, Mom, I don't even remember that. But for me, it was such a bad parenting moment that I constantly thought about it. And I judged myself, but here you are 8 years later, he's like, wait, you did what? We were walking home from the park and I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
My bad.
I also think it's really brilliant though to do this for kids, to demonstrate for them how to be responsible for, that's what one of the things I know that when we're responsible for our humanity, our lives are better. And so to demonstrate that for them, when we own our mistakes, and one, it tells them it's okay to make mistakes, and two, it shows them how to take responsibility for it in a way that can really empower their lives and make their lives better. So I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, ask for forgiveness instead of saying I'm sorry.
Yes.
So before we sign off, I have to tell both of you with Porter. So have him watch the show Homestead Rescue on Discovery.
Okay. What is home?
It's called Homestead Rescue.
Okay.
And I think Peter and Porter and I talked about it when I was at Demi's house. I can't remember, but at any rate, it's a story about how a family, the Rainey family, lots of people are going off grid in the last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And so I'm amazed how many of them go off grid and they really have not studied enough or practiced up enough to be able to live that kind of lifestyle, because it's really hard.
Right.
So anyway, the Rainey family go in and help them because they've lived off grid for a long time. So he's standing right outside my window right here. The dad, Marty.
Oh, really?
You're like, hey.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I
think, when I met Porter, he just reminds me of a kid who likes to work with his hands and create with his hands and that kind of thing. And so he'll really like Marty's ingenuity.
Okay. That's great.
And so Marty was up on the scaffolding yesterday he's doing some rock outside our house. And so I did a real quick Facebook Live with him as well. So Porter watched that show and then saw.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
That would be really, I would love to give Porter a wonderful adventure like that. That would be really neat.
He would love it.
I would love him to come. Yeah, lots of.
He's such a handsome man. You probably wouldn't even. I mean, even just she was here in February, but he's changed. He's even just his voice is like, who's that man in the house?
I was like,
he's such a good kid.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of my Sammy, just kind and thoughtful and so great job, Mama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
And thank you to both of you. I really love it.
Thank you for inviting me on. It's been great.
Yeah.
It was lots and lots of fun, and I look forward to more. And Hillary, you can count on Demi and I to keep moving you forward.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Long.
Okay.
Well, and the truth is like there's so many moms who need some of the things that you have, and you have a perspective of how I've already raised kids, and then coming back to after raising kids, still working with kids to really have such mastery in, and those little devils, man, I you know, when I've spent so much time and money investing in my coaching skills, my ability to help other people create breakthroughs and empower their lives, but none of my skills work on kids. I mean, I start to say one thing and my daughter's like, I did a video. I'll have to send you this video. Benny was doing this, mocking me. She's like, oh, do another one of your videos where you're talking about taking responsibility for yourself. And, you know, you are causing the matter. Like she was just, it was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what she's going to think of, you know, all this stuff. But yeah.
That's awesome.
On my kids, so.
And to both of you, thank you for being the inspiration of what can happen when we do lead with love, and we really, I think, get the bird's eye view instead of the ground view of what can happen and what that looks like. And if in the end it leads to better health, which obviously healthy relationships lead to better health, is it worth it? Is it worth being uncomfortable? Is it worth stepping into that uncomfortableness and feeling the feeling, and deciding this is what I want to do with this feeling?
That's really it. It's really getting in touch with what's on the other side to see that it's worth it.
Yeah, love it. So thank you so much, and
nice to meet you as well.
Yes.
For sharing.
With your community too. I can tell they're awesome women. I look forward to meeting them in October.
Yeah, October 9th and 10th. We're actually going to do it in Orange Beach, Florida. Now, between Mobile and Pensacola, at an awesome state campground that has a brand new facility, learning facility. All of the food is farm to table. It's so all based on conservation. So I think it's just like the perfect place for the whole event to happen. So
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for having us.
Appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.